Sound Electric or Energy, they also have a new program, and he's going to do a presentation also and offer free inspections and comments. And then Mitch Knowles, our fire chief, will be on the electric. I'm sorry, who?
Mitch Nozzle.
No.
Okay,
Nozzle?
No.
okay, Mitch is going to come and do a presentation, and they also have a new program for fire inspections. So
Nice.
for those of you that like to have a fireman hanging around your house, they will send a fireman to your house and do an inspection.
You said that was July 31st?
Your 21st,
21st.
Tuesday, July 21st,
So what time again, sir?
6:30
6:30 p.m.
in the dance barn.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
So it should be good this year.
It sounds good. It should be very informative. All right, any other comments or announcements? Excuse me. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 3, is property owner comments. 15 minutes total, 3 minutes each. Does anybody, you just don't want to hear us tonight, I'm sure. You got some stuff, bring it on up.
I got stuff, okay.
Name and address.
My name is Eric Fink, and I'm at 17 Marigold Drive. And thank you for this opportunity. I come from a 35-year plus career with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and secondarily as a consulting mediator and facilitator. At EPA, whenever we were to start a project in a community, we would always start with a public meeting within the community to inform them of what the project was about. But more importantly, from our perspective, was to receive feedback from them about the project, how it might affect them, and let them give them comments to us directly. And that allowed us to accommodate or alleviate their concerns and achieve a greater level of buy-in for our projects at that point. My sense of what the board is seeing lately with regard to its current plan for the off-leash dog park is that the issue is bigger than the board may have originally anticipated. I believe that you've heard sufficient concerns about the project to warrant a larger look into the concerns and how broadly they're felt across the community. So therefore, I propose that the board announce and hold a public meeting or community meeting before going any further with this project, with the sole purpose of listening to what the community has to say about it, and for the dog park, and more broadly, the marina park, and then accommodate and as many have expressed concerns as it can. As a former mediator, I believe this will help the board achieve the buy-in it needs to move forward with community support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Hi, James Pinkerton, 51 North Point Drive. I'm here to discuss everyone's favorite dog park fence project. One key design assumption for this project is that the dog park is too big. The data does not support this assumption when taking a holistic view at the Marina Park and all 4 parks with access to Lake Whatcom, including North Point, Sofield, AM/PM, and the Marina. So let's look a little bit at the facts versus fiction. Fiction. The dog park is too big. Fact, the size of the dog park is actually fair and equitable. It's only 51% of the Marina Park when you take a look at everything, and it's only 29% of all those 4 parks discussed. The dog park, another fiction is that the dog park has too much shoreline today. The fact is the dog park has a reasonable amount of shoreline. When you look at it, it's only 23% of the Marina Park and 16% of all the parks. So the fact is that the current dog park commission or dimension meets the needs of the Sudden Valley community. I know the board wants to add more amenities, which is cool by me, but it's not like a high priority need to shrink the size of the dog park. So listening to recent feedback, the Sudden Valley community wants some form of a boundary. So I know there's been discussion about, is this fence versus no fence? And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. We agree that there should be some form of boundary to reduce the human and dog conflict, but the overwhelming opposition to shrinking the dog park size by adding 800 feet of chain link fencing just is not the right decision. The best solution is to add an ACC compliant boundary to the current dog park dimensions as defined in the 2020 policy. This boundary could include something like mature shrubs, hedge, just extend what we have around the tennis courts. It could be an ACC compliant fence, which most people are here very familiar with. So adding a boundary to the current park size would be a 60% savings, which should help out the finance committee. So in conclusion, my ask is, sort of like Eric was saying, is don't rush this. Let's find a dog park fence alternative to simply finish the design of 2020 with a boundary that maintains the natural beauty of the Marina Park. Thank you.
Thank you for your
All right,
time.
thank you, James.
Anyone else?
Hi. Do you want another cookie for your son?
No, thank you. I'm not sure, I think.
Hi, Casey.
I see him raising his hand.
Colleen Mitchell, Division 8, Lot 880. I am an advocate for a more resident and safety-centered HOA. I just want to preface that. And so I'm bringing an issue before the board that deserves all of your attention. And so I'm just going to go through a very quick timeline, and then I'll conclude with the ask, if I may. So April 16, 2024, I had written WTA about the bus stop here at the entrance to Gate 2. So Marigold and Lake Whatcom, because of the number of not only elderly residents, children, etc., that during rain, during snow, during heat are hiding under trees, sitting on the ground, just not a dignified way to access public transportation. And I spoke with Mary Anderson at the time, who's the senior transit planner. I expressed my concern. She said it was a great time. She said, that's one of our priority stops. And we are poised, ready, funded to make that happen. And so like other stops, it would have a shelter, proper signage, easy access. So not only for people in wheelchairs, but also anyone with a cane, with any kind of disability, but also just the shelter. Really important. I don't know if you guys, as you're driving in, see people baking in the sun, getting soaked in the rain. I know my teenager uses public transportation to get to school. So I think it touches kind of every household here. So I replied to that email, super excited, connecting the GM with them, and then from there, whatever their conversation was, not privy to. So fast forward to last week. So I'm like, it's been 2 years since that email, what's happening? I don't see anything. And so I followed up with Devin DeBoyer, who's now in charge of these renovations. And he had spoken to the GM in late March. And there is a hold on the project due to the necessity to wait for the new El Agave sign, was what he had expressed, that there was so now we're talking 2 years. So we've lost and impeded 2 years of equitable, safe public transportation access because we have a sign project prioritized. So I'm just asking the board, to hear this. And I honestly can't believe I'm kind of saying this out loud, that we're putting off accessible, safe bus stop that we're not even needing to pay for. This is a no-brainer. And so it's fully funded upgrade that would allow sheltered, safe, dignified access to public transportation, especially in 2026. We have gas prices that are astronomical. People are thinking about using public transportation, and we have, I think it's our obligation to make that accessible. And really, they already have the property use agreement in place. So there's nothing but permission. And the only thing impeding this process for 2 years is that sign, that dilapidated sign sitting out there, which can be placed literally anywhere. We can put that sign 10 feet from there, 2 feet from there, the other side of the road. We have it. So my appeal to the board and executive committee to immediately grant WTA permission to move forward with this project through staff direction. And I encourage all of you, as you're passing, notice those people and where they're having to stand. There's actually someone brought a chair. I don't know if you've seen it sitting there. But yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Good evening. My name is Najim Fabi, 17 Marigold Drive.
And my comments are back to the Marina Park planning. And I want to say that I appreciate very much all the time and effort the board has put into this issue. From what I understand, this has gone back for some time for you and really appreciate it. However, I do feel that the project is being pushed forward without due process, and that includes use assessment, issues assessment, and adequate community input. Starting with use assessment, before planning major projects at Marina Park, can we reduce the level of use at AMPM Beach and Marina Park by discouraging non-members of the community? One way to do this would be to install a security gate to both parks to charge outside users. Second, before we limit area use for some people in Marina Park, can we ensure that all the common areas in Marina Park are open? Currently, there's a major and beautiful beach area that is not clearly marked for common use. If we reduce park use by non-members and open common areas, not presently obvious, this could alleviate some, maybe even all of the current issues. So issues assessment. Presently, we are relying apparently on simply anecdotal evidence to argue for a major planning project. Apparently, no log exists for issues that occur at Marina Park. For planning purposes, but also liability issues that I know we're all concerned about, we need to know how many dog attacks are occurring. Are we talking about one owner or a lot of owners? Is it just one person who's constantly complaining? Why didn't the victim call security? Why wasn't the dog owner fined? The board is jumping to solutions without documentation of the problems and following due process, which would be fining the abusers of any Sudden Valley rules. Finally, consultation. Dog owners use common areas, rain or shine, in all seasons, day and night, even in snow and floods. Surely that level of use and commitment deserves special consideration. Consistent use of the off-leash area in Marina Park has occurred for decades now. A place has been established. The love for a place has taken hold. Why take something away that's working and why destroy it? When I learned of plans to sever Marina Park, a beautiful park with a 700 to 800 foot long, 5 to 6 foot high galvanized fence, I was sickened. Sudden Valley is a designated wildlife and bird sanctuary. It's why we moved here. Our rules state
Good time, 3 minutes. I keep trying to change the ringtone, but that's what you get. Thank you.
I'll just repeat. When I learned of the plans to sever the Marina Park with a 700 to 800 foot...
That was your 3 minutes, is all. Sorry.
Oh, the time's up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Elizabeth Huffert, 8 Westbrook Court. I was so pleased to hear that lady who's leaving to talk about seniors and handicapped. And again, I want to suggest that we get a senior center in Sudden Valley. And I know we've been talking about it for years, and I think we're getting closer, but I really would like to see the community give more support to that. If we get a designated place with a roof and maybe some heat, some of our seniors will be able to get out, get socialization, have a place that they can have different events. We can get people in to talk to the seniors about their concerns, and perhaps the bus bench or whatever it is would have been hurried along had there been a group of seniors who were aware of that was going on. We need a senior center here that is accessible, and I hope we can get it soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Michonne Kirkland. I'm at 399 Sun Valley Drive, and I would like to also speak about the dog park. The dog park is one of the major reasons that that I love this area and that I moved to this area. The lots are very small. There's nowhere else for my dog to run other than at that dog park. And it's beautiful. It is a part of the community. There are kind people there. I've been to other dog parks, and I will not go back to any other dog park in Bellingham. It is not safe. Every other dog park I've been at, there's a dog fight every single time. I have a dog that is a therapy dog. It's been trained as a therapy dog, and as I was taking my training classes, sometimes we would meet at one of those dog parks, but not in the park, outside of it, and the dogs would all be on leash, and we were just ignoring the dog park. And there was a time that people suggested we go in there, and the dog trainer actually said, no. Dog parks, they're dangerous, and we did go in there for about 5 minutes, and just as I always saw, there was a dog fight. And one of the people in our class that had a very calm, lovely, wonderful dog actually had blood drawn in its leg from that. I have never experienced a moment where I felt unsafe at the Sun Valley Dog Park because it is so large that it is a different psychological state for the dogs when there's not a chain link fence and enclosing them in a really small area. If I ever hear the tiniest bit of a growl, a dog owner will move to a totally different part of the park, but they don't have to leave. They can go somewhere else and throw a ball for their dog. If I ever feel a little bit uneasy, I can move to a different part of the park, and my dog can still run, and I still feel like it's a beautiful, wonderful place. And it is sickening and absolutely heartbreaking to me to think that now there's going to be a place in my community that I chose to live in because of this amenity. I don't use any other amenities here. This is the first time I've been to the barn. I walked all over the place just trying to find it.
Well done. Success.
And it is heartbreaking to think that now this is going to be a place I can't take my dog to because it doesn't feel safe because there's a smaller fence. And as an eyesore, it's a beautiful area. It's so beautiful. And the fact that we're going to make it a liability, like it's not going to feel safe for it's not welcoming for wildlife now. It's an eyesore. It's less, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I'm a middle school teacher. I'm like exhausted. And I feel very strongly about this, and I've never felt strongly about anything in Sun Valley before, any issue. But I heard about this, and it was probably one of the first times I picked up the paper, Sun Valley paper, and read it. So I'm telling you, I feel very moved about this issue. And I sure hope that you will consider not erecting a fence up in the Sun Valley Dog Park. It will affect the community.
Okay, we got one person online, if we could do them, and then if you're ready, you next. Okay, go ahead, Spencer.
Her name is Maria.
Yeah, go ahead, Maria. Maybe she stepped away, and then.
She just unmuted. Maria, are you there?
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Maria Price, 46 people.
Did you get that, Linda?
I got her address at least, that's all I need.
Her name's
All
Maria.
right. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I'm here in regards to the safety committee and the community by the sort of advisory group. I came to this committee August of 2025 when Bellingham School District announced a group of us up to our home. I have been walking with my professor to the Indian plan is what it's meant on Harvard Drive. So I was excited when the bus stop. Yes, we went to the bus stop. It was we. So I then took a look around and there was a blind spot coming around Kenyon Court and 7 Valley Drive, where the bus stop was going to be. If I see someone bring their hand, you cannot hear me again.
Maria, your sound is on, but your speech is garbled, so we're having trouble.
Understanding the
Yeah.
story.
It's glitching.
Is it something you could email into Joanne or the board?
I can.
That would probably be better at this point.
If I email it, will it still be part of the record of this meeting?
No, but it will be read by the board of directors and myself, and we can, address it offline. So far, we've heard that there's a bus stop involved, and getting there is problematic. Is that what you're trying to communicate?
It was problematic. I personally pointed out.
Is it a school bus stop or a public bus stop?
School.
School bus stop, okay.
I will email in.
Okay, thank you.
Maria,
Yes.
this is Tom. Will you be able to make the meeting next week for the safety group?
Yes, it's on right now.
Okay, please bring this with you because we'll be able to deal with it a lot better.
Sounds great. I wanted to be part of the record of this meeting. In regards to
I get it.
no longer being included.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Thanks for joining.
Sir.
I'm Matt Griscom. I'm at 20.
Oh, your time's up.
Welcome to Sun Valley. Yeah, Matt Griscom. I'm at 20 North Point Drive, and if you know Gate 1, you know there's no house there, but I have a quarter acre, and I pay my dues, and I'm working with an architect. So I'm here to talk about the dog park, and we've heard a lot about it. Taking all that into consideration, I don't have a dog, but I am a frequent user of the marina. I have 2 kayaks down there. And my impression is that the dog park isn't just a large dog park, it's also the entire marina. Young people will run their dogs everywhere. They'll go right past the signs that say, dogs on leash. And there's poop and pee everywhere. I see them peeing on posts and everything. And all their dogs, dogs will do what dogs will do, but it appears like the off-leash area is everywhere, given that there's no way to demarcate the dog area. And so I think a fence is the only solution. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And was it 20, what was it?
20 North Point
20
Drive.
North Point Drive.
Okay, you guys, they're way ahead of me. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else tonight?
Hi.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. Barbara Michelson Harder, 172 Polo Park Drive. So I wasn't going to speak tonight, I really didn't. Everything's been said, but I did want to address this gentleman. We're not saying no fence. No one is saying no fence. Everyone is saying not the fence that the board is proposing because it's unsightly, it makes too small of a space for the dogs. The way it's configured, it's going to create a lot of dog problems that, as this lady said over here, currently don't exist. So that's why we keep referring to the 2020, nobody's saying no fence. Because
that guy did say no offense.
Oh, well.
The earlier speaker, he's not here anymore.
Oh, okay, so, but it's, where should the fence be? There is a demarcation that says leash, off leash. Everybody says that's a great place, that there should be a barrier. Dogs can't read that sign. But people can, and people do try to keep their dogs there. I do think it's important that the rules that are there now be followed. I do think it's important that the leashed areas be maintained as leash areas. That I believe the spit is supposed to be dogs on leash. That needs to be maintained.
that the dogs on this bit should be on a leash. But I am definitely not in favor of the board's proposal as it stands. But I just wanted to clarify, nobody's saying no fence. People are saying, let's discuss it. Let's talk about what needs to be done. Let's talk about what's going to meet everybody's needs, and let's maintain, I guess the word is, I want all the amenities that the dog park is in favor of the dogs and the people that own the dogs. It's not just dogs, there's dog owners. And people go down there, it's a social event. People have met friends that are lifelong friends. People go there to see their friends, not only for the dogs to run around and play, but we can't just say it's just dogs. It's dogs and dog owners. And it needs to be something that works for both. And the current board proposal does not. That's it. Just one thing.
Thank you. Barbara, welcome to the Long Range Planning Committee. I heard you put your name in along with the troublemaker in the back row.
Yes, I did.
Congratulations, thank you for participating.
Well, thank you. I hadn't heard, so I didn't know if
I can't say the
We're not there
speak
yet.
for the board. I'm just saying, hey, thank you for putting your name in.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Sorry, I didn't want to steal it under there.
Well, it's stolen now.
Well, let's go home, guys. We're close the meeting. All right, moving on
Get a
up.
chance to talk.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 4, consent agenda approval of the meeting minutes for April 23rd, 2026.
I just have a couple of things I need to change. In board members, Rob was there. And there is a, in consent agenda in number 4, Linda's name is Bradley, not Bradelli. So, can we approve those with those 2 changes?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approval of the meeting minutes with said corrections? That's unanimous. Who seconded that?
Me.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 5. 6. We have the GM report. We have reports. This first is the GM report. Joanne?
Good weather in April supported strong golf revenue and allowed turf care and maintenance departments to complete many of their outdoor tasks. Mowing began, boats started to be launched, and the trails were very busy on sunny days. Summer is almost here, and we're spending our time getting ready. Inside the Welcome Center, administration has been busy helping members to register their rental properties and launching the community survey. I'd like to start my report with an update on rental registrations. The rental registration process was kicked off with an article that was published in the April issue of The Views. For the first 3 weeks after that article was published, we had a few people call, but not that many. On April 21st, letters were mailed to the 613 owners whose mailing address was different in our database than their Sudden Valley property address. As I announced at the 4/23, April 23rd board meeting, these letters included an error. The mailing addresses were correct, but the SVCA property address was wrong on most of the letters. We mailed corrected letters within a week, but the error actually prompted many people to call us to complain about the mistake. While we are sorry to have caused confusion, response has been much stronger than expected because of this error. And we have updated the status of 2/3 of the list at this time.
Oh, very good. Nice.
Yeah, because of this strong start, I feel that we will meet our deadline and register most properties before May 25th. About half of the members that we've heard from on that list have stated that their properties are not rentals. Most of the non-rental properties are either homes occupied by family members or simply vacation homes. A small number of properties were included on this list because they did not update their mailing address after they had moved into their Sudden Valley property. We believe that it is very likely that properties which are rentals will wait until closer to the deadline to register, since registration requires a payment of that annual fee. Many of the members who do operate their properties as rentals have objected to the amount of the registration fee. When the registration process is complete, I have assured these members that I will summarize the results and bring them back to the board so that the fee amounts can be reconsidered. Next is an update on the community survey. The community survey was launched on Friday, May the 8th, when letters were sent via the U.S. Postal Service to all homeowners. On Monday, May 11th, email invitations were sent to homeowners for whom we had an email address on file, and that was about 80% of our total database. By Tuesday morning, we had received more than 300 responses. And right before I came, I looked at the survey and we were up to 582.
Whoa, that's good.
Yeah, so it is a very strong response, but the survey will remain available online through the end of May, and we will send out periodic reminders to homeowners via e-blast and direct email. If someone would like to take the survey but doesn't have their unique passcode, they should call the front office. Staff can look it up by your property address and also give you instructions to connect to the survey. If a member doesn't have a home computer or a cell phone, they can come to the Welcome Center where we have set aside 2 computers for residents to use. And we've had 4 or 5 people come down and take advantage of that today. We really appreciated that opportunity because we were also able to show people how to access the suddenvalley.com website and how to find some information on the website and places where they can go to find out about events and such. So that was a really helpful experience. We are setting ourselves a goal of collecting 1,000 responses because we want to have a really strong and robust data set. And that 1,000 responses would represent about 1/3 of our total owners and set us a very, very robust baseline for future comparisons. The results of the survey, when they're available, will be shared with the community. And we'll do this in a town hall meeting and by posting the results online. So everyone will have an opportunity to see what was said without any sort of filter.
Do you have any idea when that town hall would be?
I have to confirm dates later in this meeting, Daniel, for the budget, and we'll organize around that. My next topic is pool season. It's a short but intense period of time during which the sun frequently shines. And luckily, Recreation is ready to manage another really wonderful pool season. We were so lucky and able to fill all the lifeguard positions, and about half of the lifeguards this year are returning, so we know that they're experienced, they know our ways, and we feel good about starting the season with 16 guards. 10 of the guards are participating in certification training this weekend. So as you see the rain and the 60-degree temperatures, just understand that those lifeguards are out there actually getting in the water and out of the water.
Wetsuits.
That's quite a robust weekend for them. And then the following week, we'll have skills refresher training for the remaining 6 guards. So everyone will be fully up to date and certified. We've printed new signs for both of the pools to make sure that everyone using the pools is aware of our rules, because our goal, as always, is to maintain a pleasant and safe environment. We are definitely ready, though, for opening day, which is Saturday, May the 23rd. As a side note, we've also created new signs for the RV storage area and the tennis courts. So it's refreshed branding, brand new clean signs, and just looks really nice. So hopefully everyone appreciates that effort.
I saw them, they look great.
Thanks. Also about the pools, we are once again partnering with the YMCA to bring swim lessons to Sudden Valley. As in previous years, lessons will take place on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday mornings. But during that time, we will still have 3 lanes reserved for lap swimmers. because we know when people can get to the pool, they really want to get to the pool. So we will continue to open those 3 lanes for lap swimming. Y will also be conducting the water aerobics classes this year. So for those of you who have enjoyed those in the past, they're coming back. And, registration for both programs will be through the Y's website. Okay. We had worked with the Y to bring back spring soccer, or to start spring soccer here in Sun Valley on the athletic fields. And we actually invested in filling in a lot of the potholes in that field and reseeding. But at the last minute, the Y pulled out. So we're not quite sure, but will be working with them over the summer to make sure that if it's possible that we can do something in the fall for younger people around athletics. And then, of course, look to bring soccer back in the spring. I think that would be a great program. Moving on to capital projects. The report has been updated with a lot of new projects that are in progress, thanks to the board approving various capital requests. The Austin Creek Bank repair, this is a leftover from last year. The design and permitting was approved, but we're still waiting for feedback from Whatcom County before finalizing our design and submitting permit applications. So the county has just been very, very slow in giving us direction with this permit for the Austin Creek Bank repair. The clubhouse HVAC replacement contract was awarded, as those of you who follow the board know, and the work is going to begin on May the 18th. There are 2 days in which we're going to be trenching across the loop that allows you to drive by the clubhouse and get into the parking area for the upper parking. 2 days in which we're going to be trenching so no one can drive over. So on those 2 days, people are going to be directed either to the lower golf lot or to go in through the out exit, which is, I wouldn't do that. But those are the only ways you would be able to park for those 2 days. But it's going to be kept to as short a period as possible. El Agave has been notified, and the most important thing to know is that El Agave will be air conditioned during this project because there's a separate unit that serves the second floor. Okay, so when you're going there for your Mexican meal, you will be able to do that in the cool. Marina tennis court refurbishment. The project has been designed, permits were submitted. The project was put out to bid and we're waiting for the bids to come back. When we get them, we will present it to the finance committee and the board. And we still hope to complete construction this summer on those courts. On the marina security upgrade, the utility pole was relocated, power has been installed, and we expect that the project will be completed in May by installing the additional cameras. We have money for marina and directional signage. That's left over from last year as well. And the marina signage is waiting until we develop a cohesively branded look for all of the signs and know what's happening in the marina. So when the marina plan is finalized, we will then create the signage to support that final plan. But that directional signage includes what Colleen Mitchell was talking about. And it was supposed to happen last year. Everything was in place for it to happen last year, but they didn't do the sign, so they didn't take down the other sign. But it's underway. For the off-leash dog park fence, permit applications are submitted. Contract has been signed and work is anticipated to be completed this summer. The playground design and permitting, design has already started and we expect to submit permits by the end of June, but construction will probably not take place until next summer.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Can you raise your hand, please? Yes, sir.
Did you put that out to bid or just award it?
What?
Fence. You have a fence
There were 3
contract?
bidders. There were 3 bidders.
There were 3 bidders?
Yep, you have to look toward, you may not have been on the board then. Yeah.
Probably wasn't.
Went out.
All right, that was pre-me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was put out for bid and we had several responses and they were collated in the
Thank
memo.
you.
Yep.
Where was I? Barn 6, design is underway. The geotech scope is complete. Survey and utility potholing has been completed, and all of that will combine to bring together the information necessary for the permit application. So we're well underway with that. The turf care equipment was ordered. We're still waiting for it to come in. The road repairs for 2026, we have permits in hand and bids are expected back for contract award at the end of May. The Area Z access bridge and culvert number 4, we're still waiting for those permits to be approved. We hope to complete the work this summer, but again, it's all dependent on the county.
Yeah.
And believe me, they're tired of us following up. Culverts 22 and 24, understanding how long it took us to get culvert 4 and the Area Z bridge approved, and they're still not approved, obviously. We accelerated the schedule for design and permitting on culverts 22 and 24. So we've completed utility pot holding and done the survey work. Design should be finished in July, and then we'll submit the permits. As we discussed when the funding for this project was approved, construction on culvert 24 is planned for summer 27, and culvert 22 will happen in 2028. The rest of the report contains activity summaries for the different departments, and I invite everyone to take a peek at that either in the views where it is published as Around the Valley, or online where we always publish the GM reports because they are so scintillating. Thank you.
Any questions? Hearing none. Joel? Move on to finance. Should start your timer.
3 minutes, Joel.
Have an hour.
Hey, pass me a piece of that licorice. You guys are eating that. It looks good.
Would you pass this over, please? He gave me a nasty look when I opened it. Wait, I'll wait till Joel starts tonight to leave.
Anybody else want some?
Yeah, throw it over the rail.
Oh, God. Oh, wow, that was pretty good.
Nice call.
Job.
Want some more?
Thanks, Sid.
Thank you. Okay, now we go on.
Are you ready, sir?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll be covering the February financial statements. Obviously, last month I presented the January statements. I always start off with the balance sheet, but the good thing about this is there's no real huge changes or notable things to talk about in the balance sheet, which is good. So I think we'll just go ahead and skip right on to the income statement. Okay, so if we just go right to the bottom line of the operating net income, you can see it's $321,822 through the end of February. At the end of February 2025, so year over year, February 2025, net income was $17,334. Of course, then you're probably wondering why is there a big difference here? This is because of all the rental fees, actually. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
It's gonna get us in trouble.
Yeah. This shows you what all those rental fees have done. But, I'm kidding. This doesn't even reflect at this point. But the difference here between why the operating net income was $17,334 versus $321,822 comes down to, so the revenue here is $285,000 over last year, February 2025, and that primarily is related to marina income right here. So you can see that, so a big difference over last year is the marina rentals really hit and came in March of 2025. This year they came in a month early, in February 2025. So, like for example, so marina income or revenue is $204,000 higher just because of that.
Wow.
Golf income, of course, I talked about this before last month, but golf income is about $56,000 higher. But part of this is they took in roughly around $44,000 additional prepaid golf revenue at the end of 2025 that is reflecting in 2026. Obviously, our dues have gone up, so So the dues revenue is up 48,000 as well over last year. Expenses really aren't too far off from the year before. They're actually lower by about 19,500. Looks like I disconnected maybe.
Do you expect that trend to continue?
For which one?
For expenses staying lower than
Yes.
projected?
That's my answer, yes. We don't aim to scrimp, but we are being careful.
Well, I appreciate that. We were expecting our costs to go up, and our costs aren't going up as high. Just as we think about our budget next year.
Yeah.
Now, some things like, for example, like in terms of salary and benefits, so in February 2025, we had a weather event, so we spent maintenance at about $10,000 in payroll expenses just solely attributed to weather event. In February 2026, we did not have some sort of notable weather event, I don't believe that you can recall, because there is no weather event payroll expenditure. So those sorts of things are playing into why there's a small decrease year over year.
And no snow this year.
Yeah. Now, in terms of of course, Linda likes to hear about the expense to revenue ratio, which is just basically it's just, you're taking the expenses, total expenses right here, and dividing that by the total revenue, and that gives you a percentage. And so, like, for example, February 2026, it was 68.5%. And basically all that tells you is for every dollar of revenue that we took in, we spent 68.5 cents. You can think about it like that. So obviously a lower percentage is better. February 2025 was 97.6%. So it was higher in February 2025, but last year, we did not take in that marina revenue, so our revenue was less. So that's what is triggering that higher percentage. So that's the main discrepancy between the 2 years, why February 2026 is 68.5% over February 2025, 97.6%. When you have a big chunk of revenue, especially those marina renewals, not showing up in February of last year, but it showed up in February this year, that is what's triggering that difference in the percentage. March, this will smooth out and catch up with itself. January 2026 is 74.4%. Obviously, at the end of December 2025, it was 100.7%, which means as you know, we're slightly over budgeted expenses to revenues. So our collection rate at the end of February 2026 is 93%. Obviously, we budget for a 95% collection rate in 2026. We did it the same 2025, 2024, but it's 93%. In terms of February 2025, it was 94.6%. So we are technically lower than where we were last year at this time. March of 2026, so March's collection rate did go up from 93%. It's now up to 94.9% at the end of March. So we're real close to being back on budget with that. But this is the typical pattern that happens out here at Sun Valley, where January we started off, like for example, January 2026, we started out at 91.7% collection rate. Now in February, it's gone up to 93%. Then March, it's real close to being up to budget, 94.9%. March of 2025, it was 95.7%. So you can see it is in March of 2026 still slightly lower than March of 2025. I guess but the good news is February is 93%. February 2025 is 94.6%. So that's 1.6 percentage difference. In terms of March of 2026, like I said, 94.9%, March 2025, 95.7%, so now it's a 0.8% difference, so it's
catching up.
Yeah, so it's catching up. Yeah. In perspective, I did share this last month, but I'll just go ahead and say it again, in terms of like looking back at a year where we had kind of a really rotten collection rate at the beginning of the year, and that was 2021, as you can imagine, back during the pandemic situation. So January 2021, then it was 86.7%, then February that year it went up to 86.8%, March 91%, and then we still finished out 2021 at 96.8% collection rate. So that's the pattern of our collection rate right now. And I said before, and I'll just quickly say it again real fast, since we budget for a 95% collection rate, if at the end of the year we have a 96% or Then ops would take in an additional $32,088. Surf close to 15,000, roads close to another 15,000. Mailbox is just another $265. If it becomes a 97% collection rate, then those numbers you can double, 98%, triple them. So that's how that really does help out the bottom line, which helped us out at the end of 2025, since we finished out at the end of 2025 at 98%. So if we didn't finish out at 98%, our slight kind of net loss would have been a lot higher, as you can imagine. We'll just now skip ahead real fast. I won't spend too much time on this since I cover this every single month, but this is the capital reserve fund sheet. And this is a really handy sheet that's really used in budgeting very extensively. And obviously it starts off with our net available cash for the reserve funds. So if you go back to the balance sheet, I'll go back to the balance sheet on just one of them, on SERV. You can see $3,757,709. If I went back to the balance sheet for SERV here, at the end of 2025, there's the amount. So it's getting all the starting balances from the December 31, 2025 ending cash. And then we have the dues received. This is the cash coming in from the dues. Interest income, this 2026 expenditures, this is reflecting basically all the checks that we've cut, or in this case, since it's SERF, that includes SERF loan payments, since that's approved to come out of SERF. And that's what's giving you net available cash at the end of February, 3.8 million, which ties back to the balance sheet in February 2026. And then this bottom section is all the projections. So this is 10 months left of the year at a 95% collection rate. We expect to take in 1.185 million in dues collections for SERF. Big number is SERF loan payments right here, since we have 10 payments left, and 277,000. And here's that's the most interesting number, the obligated expenses holdings, that 1.28 million. I'll just quickly, I believe this is in the agenda packet, yeah. So if I look at the open capital projects report, you can see that the bottom line on that 1.28 million, that's the number that ties back. And this, just as I mention every single month, this shows you all of the projects that the board has approved that are open. The ones with the red dots are ones that we're in the process of closing out at the end of 2025 for the audit. But you can see these are already picking up no obligated funds left.
Did we just look back, we discussed de-obligating and closing out the Barn 8 refurbishment and de-obligating that money? And it still shows here, the report shows it was updated last February 28th. Are we going to update that?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. So now, since that was approved last month, then that will be swept into that'll be swept into the April capital project report.
As Linda pointed out,
yes.
Next month. Thank you.
But like I said before, this report really is super handy if anyone had any question about any projects. And like the Marina Tennis Court refurbishment, the last one on here. I'll just highlight that right here. So anyone could go, the approval date right here, February 26, 2026. If you go to the February 26 agenda packet, board agenda packet, you'll find that exact capital project right in there for approval. And then it has what the board approved, 21,120, which will tie to the board minutes. And obviously we have no expenditures in February for this yet. And so that's why we're showing a total obligation of 21,120. And they all get added up the same.
This hasn't changed much.
Yeah. And there's another page for roads, same exact drill for roads, and another page for the UDR, same thing. Like you can see in February 2020, or February 26, you can see that's when the board approved for the bylaws and rules and regs revisions for the Wakaya 10,000. So now that's showing up on this report, and it's now increasing that obligated total amount for the UDR column, which is right here, 23,785. Now in terms of net usable cash at the end of 12/31/2026, you can see at this point, then SERF has 2.85 million projected. That's after that 600,000 board recommended carryover, the amount that we would not like to fall below. The total cash, at the end would be this plus that 600,000. But it's the exact same drill for roads, all of these things on here. So just a quick rundown, like for example, for SURF, so at the end of February 2025, we had 2.48 million, meaning this net usable cash number was 2.48 million, so that's up obviously from February 2026. Roads, it's real close to the same, it's 2.245 million. One, in case someone wanted to know, board density reduction at the end of February 2025, it was 88,000 rounded, now it's 150,815, and that's because of those two lot sales that the board engaged in November of last year. So the policy for these lot sales says that the net proceeds are to be deposited into the board density reduction fund. So that's the big reason why that balance went up. Mailbox, obviously the same thing. UDR, the exact same thing as well. And I've said it before, I'll just quickly mention it again, real fast. But UDR, how money gets into this UDR account is from prior year operating dues collections. So if someone did not pay their dues in 2025 or before, when they pay those dues, when they bring their account balances current, then the operating portion of those dues goes into this UDR fund. That means my time's up. Now, when someone pays their dues, by the way, like I said, the operating portion of it goes into UDR, but the SURF roads mailboxes portion goes into the SURF roads mailboxes reserve balances. Now, the last thing that we'll talk about, so we're looking at basically the income statement just on a departmental level. We're going to skip over this current month and just go right to the year to date. But you can see there's that net operating income, 321,822. This shows you how each department has contributed to that net better, worse than budget right here as well. So one line item department that I always talk about is golf, so we'll just talk about that here real quick. So you can see these. Okay, so this first column, this actual revenues, total revenues year to date through March of 2026, 264,505. At the end of year over year, March 2025 is 208,531, so that means it's an increase of real close to 56,000. Now golf did take in, like I said, 44,342 in increased prepaid golf revenues at the end of 2025. They get recognized immediately in 2026. So that is a part of that. However, so what I did is I did adjust golf's budget to some degree, meaning in the year like January, February, March, basically I moved some of their budgeted revenues into January knowing that they took in income ahead of time. But golf, in terms of February, so golf still did well at the end of February 2026, so they had approximately $49,000 of, just for the month, they had $49,000 in revenue, which is still about $19,000 over what was budgeted for golf to take in February. In February 2025, just in comparison, they took in $31,000, so that was actually close to $20,000 worse than budget for 2025. So golf has been doing well revenue-wise, even though I took some of the revenues and moved it in January, knowing that they took. One of the concerns, like Joanne probably also mentioned, I believe, was the fact that when golf took in more prepaid revenue in October, November, December, would that kind of take away, from revenue that could show up in February and March and so on, meaning just showing up earlier. And this proves to be the case that their revenues are still stronger than budgeted for February.
Yeah, I think a better way to put it into perspective is that the best year golf ever had in terms of revenue was in 2023. And so far this year, they've met or exceeded the 2023 number in January, February, March, and April. So the better weather is helping. And 2024 was challenging for golf because the winter that happened between 2023 and 2024 had some significant freezing events, which damaged the greens. And so to stimulate people still to come out and play golf, even though the greens were under repair, they were offering 20% off of green fees up until May. So 2024 had problems early in the year because of the weather damage to the course, and then the weather wasn't as good as 2023. They never made it up. 2025, Canada and the tariffs and everything else that were happening caused a lot of Canadians to stay home and not golf. So every year since 2023, the revenue for golf has declined slightly. That is not the case this year. They're, like I said, they're beating 2023 numbers, which is really good because they'll cover more of their expenses.
Yeah, in terms of golf expenses, so you'll see the actual salary benefits and then all other expenses right here. Those two pots combined together come up to $177,132 in expenses for 2026. That's actually down slightly from February 2025 when it was $183,211. So it's actually down by about $6,000 year over year. But so bottom line for golf, they had net income $87,373 at the end of February 2025. They had $25,320. So they're $62,000, a little over that, better year over year. The last thing, Marina, you can see here real quick. I already pointed this out on the consolidated income statement. Think about it like that, but you can see the revenue here, $205,425 versus February 2025, it was $1,002, and obviously the difference between that and $4,000 is just the timing of when these revenues have started to come in. But for the most part, that covers the basic highlights of the financial statements. If anyone has any questions.
Linda?
So I'm looking at the income statement, and we're only in February, but we already have in utilities a $6,400 overage. Have we got a leak somewhere? Do we know what's causing all of this? This, for just 2 months, that's weird to have $6,000, over $6,000 in excess of the budget.
The water?
I don't know, because that's all of it, but it's electric, gas, water, I think communications goes in there too, I think. But it's hard to believe that we're that far over that early in the year.
At the end of February 2025, we were 38,336. So it looks like, we're right around 5,000 over in terms of like year over year.
So sometimes that means there's a leak nobody knows about somewhere. Sometimes it's water, sometimes not. The other question I noticed is you were just talking about golf, and I was looking at the one thing where they do really well, except when they get to actual other expenses, is where they end up with overages, and sometimes they're large, and like in the 2-month period, it's a $9,500 overage, and it looks like that was all done in February. If you go back to just February to February, there was like $8,900 they went over just in that 1 month. That's kind of what kills them sometimes.
What line item was that?
For golf, for other expenses.
9509.
Because if you look for the 2 months, it's $9,500 basically. But if you look to the previous page, it says that $8,906 was all just in the month of February. So they were doing fine in January, but then spent a lot that 1 month. The other question I have is on page 13 under UDR. So why in the world do we still have a 2016 Area Z mitigation open for $7,000, $7,200? We've got a 2023 Firewise that we're not even taking Firewise out of UDR anymore. That's got another $2,000 in it, 97. The GM search from 2024, which we're all done with, those add up to around over $13,000, $13,735. Why can't those be closed and simply turn that money back into the UDR? We have a request for $18,412 from the UDR for the AGM this year. I just wonder why they're still open.
Yeah, sure, like all three of them can be.
That's what I'm saying, and then you can roll that money back into the UDR.
Yeah, it'll just come.
We finished the REC project years ago.
That's what I'm saying, when you look at it, there's only one thing that's current, and that's the bylaws, rules, and regs revisions. That's the only, and the other ones are old.
Yeah.
Can they be closed and then that money be rolled back into the UDR?
Sure, yeah.
That's just a consideration, and that's my last comment.
Yeah, actually, especially that area Z, because that pops up once in a while.
Do you need the board to approve a motion to do
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay, well, I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, next meeting is fine. It's a lot of money to be sitting out there in no man's land.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Tom?
Yeah, as far as utilities go, I can't imagine there's a homeowner in Whatcom County that hasn't blown their budget on utilities this year. You know, they're outrageous, and I don't think anybody could predict this.
It's just something to keep an eye on
Yeah.
if it keeps happening.
And
Because sometimes when this happens, we have leaks that nobody knows anything.
I'll check the water. That's
See if it is
likely
the water,
candidate.
you can tell if it's the water easy.
Yeah, I've been trying to think in my mind, there was a snafu with our payment of our internet and telephone. So it could be that too.
Okay.
I don't exactly know
All
what
right.
utility is on.
I just wondered, because whenever they get big like that, you'll find me sitting over here asking.
No, makes sense. Good call, thank you.
And then my other comment would be, is it possible, you know, when I look at these pages, can we flip this to landscape view and increase the size of the font? I know I'm getting old, but this makes me feel like I'm going blind.
You are.
Some of these pages, if I start increasing the size, you're talking about, like, when I print this into Adobe, because it's different into Adobe from Excel.
I can't read it.
If
Yeah,
you
with
print it on
glasses, I
landscape,
can't read
he's
it.
right, you'll have more, it's a lot easier.
Actually,
Instead of printing it on this way, print it this way.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh,
And
you
then
can make the font
make
bigger.
a font a little bit bigger. So
Yeah,
read
I'll
it.
try that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's
The
it.
other thing you could do, if you wanted to leave it the same way, Joel, is see all this writing at the bottom of that page that's like paragraphs upon paragraphs? If you would modify a little bit, you might be able to fit it over.
So it's
On
actually,
this whole- yeah,
it's
just-
not a problem with the financial statements. If you look at the financial statements online, they are correctly oriented.
Yeah.
But when Carmen prints them, she chooses a way of printing them that causes everything to come out portrait. Mine doesn't print that way.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point, because mine.
Oh, yeah.
Something special.
So
We need an investigation into this.
Yeah, so I'm blaming Carmen officially for that.
And by the way, Linda, for utilities, it looks like the culprit is electricity.
Whoa.
Wow, big surprise.
Who's keeping the lights
Interesting,
on?
so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Electricity.
So it looks like electricity is the one that's over by 3,500
Wow,
in facilities.
yikes. Although we've had colder weather than it's like, it never makes up its mind, what's it doing tonight?
And like I said, with these budget line
Yeah.
items, like when I make the budget spread for this, like the first default thing to do is to take a look at how did the expenses, in this case, we're talking about expenses, how do the expenses for the total show up each month? And then they start going into the budget module, you know, by percentages.
Yep.
And then there's some that I'll take a look at and have to change if the change is appropriate. Like the marina revenue was the perfect one. So since I knew ahead of time that the revenue showed up in February versus March,
Yeah.
I didn't leave the budgeted revenue to be in March. Otherwise, February would look, wow, look how well we're doing budget-wise, you know. So that
Well,
I
it's
moved
nice
that
to
back.
know that it's electric, because at least then it's not some sort of a
It's not
water
water
around
around
the.
the ground, yeah.
Because we have had that problem in the past. Good to know. Thank you, Joel.
Yes.
Thank you, Joel, appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, moving on to C is committee reports. We'll start out with Daniel, architectural control, if you have anything.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I just have a statement that my committee unanimously approved. Just read it. The residents of Sudden Valley have entrusted the ACC for decades to preserve the integrity and natural character of our community. Consistent with the AC policy, the ACC has sought to encourage fencing projects that align with Sudden Valley's character. While the ACC does not take a position on the necessity, location, or configuration of this fence as currently proposed for the Marina Dog Park, it finds the use of a chain link fencing is not appropriate for this park setting. Instead, the ACC recommends the use of wood and wire as described in the AC Policy Manual Appendix D as a more suitable alternative that better aligns with the community's aesthetic and environmental values. Other than that, Sudden Valley is business, ACC is business as usual.
Busy, getting busy.
Yeah, we had 42 last time. Actually, it went down a little bit this week, but
That's
we'll
good.
be out in the field on Tuesday looking at the properties again.
Thank you, sir. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
How many new construction projects do we have scheduled for this year?
For the year, I don't know. We looked at, I think, 3 or 4 in the last agenda.
Don't they have to start like May 1st?
That's when they can start digging.
So we only have 3?
No, June 1st.
June 1st?
Yeah.
So far.
Give them a month.
Well, it's May 1st, I think. May 1st that they can start digging. But yeah, you can start hearing all the construction happening.
Did things change? I thought it was June 1 to September 30th.
May 31st.
May 30th,
So,
yeah, May
yeah,
30th,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
May 31st.
Yeah.
No,
So the projects that you're looking at are remodels?
There's
There's no new construction?
it runs the gamut. There's remodels, there's
Active
people
business.
additions, people just refacing, a lot of roofing, a lot of fences. A lot of people want fences now. We saw 2 catios, which I'd never heard of before. Catios.
they're for your cats, so they're built onto a, they're adjacent to a house. There's usually a window that opens up and,
And you put them on your porch.
yeah, and the cats are safe.
So it's not a catio unless it's outside, right?
Yeah, it's outside.
Yeah,
It's like on your deck or whatever, but it's like usually attached to a window and then there's a kitty door in the window and,
Well, sometimes they're just wood frames with fencing.
yeah. But usually there's a way for the cats to get in and out. And
This
if they
one-
get tired of being in the house, they can
Yeah.
go out there and look around and watch the squirrels.
Dream of birds.
The birds sit out there and go.
Document review, Linda?
Oh, all right, so our next meeting is next week on Wednesday. Timmy and Mitch, please be looking at, all of the members of the committee have received the attorney recommendations for amendments to the bylaws
And marking it up.
and marking it up, and we're all gonna get together and hopefully come out of the other end of this. We did our first review, and this will just be a second review, and since we're doing it online, we can go as long as we want. So that's kind of what we're at. We haven't done anything else but focus on that because it's gonna be going on the AGM this year,
What time is that meeting?
4 PM.
Thank you, Linda. Finance, Gina's in here.
She asked me
Oh,
to, well, she at first asked me to let everybody know that she has 2 spots open on finance, but now she only has 1, because she's asked me to put forward the name of Ken Vanderpoler, and I believe he has been vetted. So, I hear he's, I hear
He's a
he's
questionable
taken-
guy.
He is a little questionable, but.
Said kettle to the pot.
Yes, but Gene would still like to put his name forward and ask for board approval for him to be on finance.
I'll second that motion.
You guys have to really think about that one.
Any objection to Ken Vandebolder joining the?
No.
No.
That's approved. All in favor? That's unanimous. And that leaves one spot left, correct?
That leaves one spot.
While we're on the topic of Finance Committee, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I see that-
Although she's not here.
Well, but the other person who probably can answer it is, I see that we're still holding lots. How many lots? Sudden Valley is not a real estate company. How many lots are we actually holding? One.
Well,
One. Just one?
we just have one in the area wide.
Okay, so that's the amount of money that you're showing a year?
Yes, it is on the balance sheet, yes.
We have
I think
four sold
sometime we
trees.
should probably have a discussion about what does the association want to do, future discussion on area wide. We pay taxes on it every year. If we're never going to develop it, maybe we should put it to the membership. You want us to turn it into green space? What do you want us to do? We've held it since 1974. We've paid taxes on it all these years, and if we're not going to do anything with it, let's not do anything with it.
The campground as well, sitting there.
Well, campground is what the campground is, but area wide is a developable property, if that's a word, a property. Now, I'm not saying we should develop it, but if we're not going to develop it, let's stop paying. Let's ask the members, what do you want to do? It's 40 acres.
Jeff in Long Range.
Do we know how
Planning
much
last
we pay every year?
I'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Can you? That's a good thing to know, because like, I know we have the campground, we pay taxes on that every year, even though we let the disc golf people have it. We pay, I think it's $2,000 or $3,000 a year on that.
If we turn that into green space, it's never going to be developed, but developing, that's a far-fetched chance. We've got a lot of property we're not doing anything with.
Airstrip property. Airstrip property as well.
Yeah, but I think long-range planning was talking to the pump track people about that.
I think they've come up with another location.
Okay.
It's a moving target.
We'll get right to you now. Moving on, long-range planning.
Okay, I have two names to put forward.
Oh,
Barbara Mickelson Harder
no way.
and James Pinkerton.
Absolutely.
Absolutely no.
And I'm also losing a member. I'm losing Ken Vanderpolder. He's
Because he's moving.
he's moving to finance.
He's transitioning.
Yeah.
Maybe we should table this till next meeting.
We could, yes, until this all is sorted out.
So.
And I'm sure they're vetted, right?
Yeah, they have been vetted, so if I can get a second
I guess
on
I'll
Barbara and James,
I'll
please.
second it.
That was
Is
Tom.
that Tom? Thank you, Tom. Any objections to either one of those? To the long-range planning committee? Hearing none, all in favor? That's unanimous, and thank you for that. Barbara left, didn't she? Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, because the time and effort that goes into it, it gives you good insight into the board and how things work, and so that's good. Appreciate that. All right, moving on, that was it?
That was all I got.
Nominations and elections, Rob isn't here, but
I
you're gonna ask me
have
after
a
Rob.
report that he's paid
Thank
me
you,
to.
Linda.
So nominations and elections committee. The nominations and elections committee is now fully organized and operational and held its initial meetings during the month of April. The committee plans to continue meeting twice each month through August in order to prepare for the 2026 election cycle. Notice of upcoming committee meetings will be communicated to members through the views. The committee's current primary focus is on the revision of the nominations and elections manual to ensure alignment with current Washington state law and governing requirements. This work is intended to strengthen clarity, consistency, and transparency throughout the election process. The committee is also working closely with the general manager to communicate and deploy the ability for members to vote electronically again this year. Additional information regarding electronic voting procedures and timelines will be shared with the membership as plans are finalized. In preparation for the upcoming election season, the committee will begin outreach efforts encouraging interested members to run for open positions on the board and the ACC. The committee plans to utilize multiple communication methods, including the views, e-blasts, and social media platforms to increase awareness and participation, respectively, submitted to nominations and election committees.
Thank you very much, Linda. Let's ask Linda questions.
I have no answers. When we also have one opening on our, we have one opening on our committee that we're looking.
Oh, yeah, one opening on
Yes.
NE.
Oh, you can leave it open, it was just,
All right, we have one opening on NE, just so if everyone heard that. All right, moving on to continuing business. Committee business, we already handled, that's the appointees tonight, so wonderful. Move on to discussion, which is the renewal of the DNR aquatic lease. Joanne?
The purpose of this memo is to request approval of the proposed aquatic lands lease. SVCA's aquatic lands lease grants the association the right to use improvements and easements on the aquatic lands, which are shorelands and bedlands of Lake Wacom as defined in Exhibit A. The lease was originally signed in 1993, was renewed in 2005, and amended in 2010. SVCA's current lease is in a holdover status and should be replaced with a current agreement as soon as possible. The agreement being proposed by the Department of Natural Resources is for a 12-year term. The current lease contains 18 sections and 2 exhibits.
Half a ream of paper.
Yeah, so to help, I created this table that compares the current sections with the previous agreement. Section 1 about the property itself is same as previous agreement. Section 2, use. There are new restrictions. We may not dredge, we may not construct new bulkheads or install bank armoring. That's obviously important since we have the tires to consider. We may not replace or expand current bank armoring, and we may not install fixed breakwaters. So, yes.
does that mean, can we apply at some point, because we're losing some ground at the end of the marina by the road there, you used to be able to park a car, we've lost some land there, the car doesn't fit between the road and the water any longer. Is there, like, does that mean they will never consider doing any armoring or any,
There's an entire section in here that tells us how we have to apply for permission to make any changes.
okay,
Yep.
so there is a possibility that we could, it's just, there'd be more of a process?
Yeah, precisely.
It's the same lease pretty much as before. For example, we went and armored the entire spit, but we went through the process of getting permission for them to do that. So they're the same thing. You can't do this, but if you ask us.
Okay, well, that's it, because now they were saying no, so that's why I was wondering, is there any kind of a process?
Yeah,
They
so-
just want to make sure that we don't do it without permission.
Right, so
Okay.
it's actually twice in there. I mean, in the section that tells you how to do it, they say if you want to do these things, you have to ask us and involve us in the process. But to emphasize that, they now include in the use section that all the things we can't do, like, if that makes any sense.
That's
It really doesn't.
In the section about term, which is section number 3, renewal is no longer allowed. New agreements must be assigned, but the end of term and holdover provisions are the same. So we're currently in a holdover situation with a month-to-month lease, so effectively
For how long?
saying that it
10
doesn't,
years.
yeah, but effectively saying that it doesn't renew is kind of, I don't see that it has any impact.
It's just perspective. They didn't want to renew. They just said leave it alone.
Right, we spoke to the DNR, they came on site in November, and it's just not a hadn't been a priority, we just got this in April, back from them, so.
Been trying to open up a dialogue with them, I think in 2015 or 2016. They were like, just leave it alone. That was their attitude.
Yeah, so there's no rush on their part, but it's good to have it, because if we don't renew it, they can give us, and we're in a month-to-month, they can give us 30 days notice and shut us down, so.
I think the thing that's the killer for a lot of it is eventually you're gonna have to dredge the channel into the marina.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's just a matter of, it will be what it will be. The water keeps pushing the lake bottom into that area. It's already been dredged once.
Section 4 covers rent. Currently, our annual rent amount is the new contract amount is $1,740.89. Previously, the rent was $1,557.78, so not even, it's a minute increase.
10,000 feet of beach.
Yeah, that's a deal. Section 5 talks about other expenses. It's the same as the previous agreement. Section 6, late payments and charges. New agreement gives the state the right to send us any past due amounts to a collection agency. Improvements, personal property and work. Requirements for submitting proposed repair or modification are greatly expanded. SBCA must comply with the state's current standards for work. If anybody's ever managed a project, a civil engineering or construction project using the state's current standards for work, you know that it makes it more complicated and more costly.
That's for sure.
Section 8, about environmental liability and risk allocation. It's essentially the same, but the language is different. Basically, we're indemnifying the state from any responsibility for the release of hazardous substances that we might cause or that our affiliates might cause, which, like for an example, if a boat drops a lot of oil into the lake and we've granted them a lease, they're there because we allowed them to be there, and we would be responsible for the cleanup of that. Section 9, assignment and subletting. It notes that we can't sublet without permission from the state, which is the same as the previous agreement. I can't imagine a scenario in which we would sublet the marina. Section 10, indemnity insurance and financial security. Basically, the requirements for insurance and bond are the same, and our current insurance is more than adequate to satisfy the requirement. Joel has already confirmed that. Section 11, maintenance and repair. The state is not required to make any repairs. We are, though, and that's the same. Section 12, we have to notify the state if anything is damaged or destroyed, and then it's our responsibility to reconstruct, repair, or replace it. That's the same. Condemnation, if the state wants to take the property, they can condemn it. That's the same as the previous agreement. And all the rest of the sections are same as the previous agreement. Exhibit A is a legal description of the property and use classifications. Exhibit B is just an expanded description of the permitted uses. So based on the fact that the majority of the agreement is the same and the increase to the rent is minimal, and also we don't really have any leverage to negotiate this, I would suggest, I recommend that the board approve the proposed aquatic lands lease.
To make a motion that the board approve the current proposed aquatic land lease.
Second.
Yeah, well, let me read the motion. So I move that the board of directors approve the proposed aquatic lands lease.
Okay,
Same.
all right, so which one of you made the motion
You can
then?
put Mitch down.
All right,
I just read it.
I already seconded it.
All three.
Okay.
I have a comment I'd like to
Yeah,
make on
questions,
that.
comments?
Oh, I do, just a minute. So, under B, we don't mention the dog park. And it says under B of B, tenant proposes no new facilities or work. We're proposing putting in a fence to be able to continue to even have the off-leash dog park any longer.
It's not in the land lease, it's not in the aquatic area. Just area.
Well, they swim in there, I guess, is what she's saying, but.
Yeah, but it's not going into the water. And
But it talks about a robust stormwater management plan which helps to reduce the discharge of contaminants.
What page are you on,
such as
so we can
dog
be
waste.
on there?
Is that 51?
Just because it says that, I just would,
What page is that on? Linda?
it's on page 51.
Joanne can correct me, I looked at that and then I jumped over and looked at the specific locations for where the lease is.
Yeah.
And their technical description, and one is not in the other.
So it's outside their scope.
It's outside scope of their legal description of the leased property.
Okay.
It's
It's a
something
good
that had to
call.
be checked.
Yeah,
But
good question.
It's just asking the question.
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
You know, it's just, does that, because part of it is, if we do go forward with this, with the dog park and fencing it, part of that has to do with making some way for it to go down into the water to that one big buoy that's out there, which is the marker between how far the dogs can go and how far they can't.
Well, this lease would say we can't go in the water, but a shoreline permit would still be required, but that's issued through the county.
Okay. I just wondered, because it's just,
Good question. Yeah.
it's like, it gets goofy when you've got all this stuff we didn't do before, and
Daniel?
I just want to get in trouble with them.
Obviously, I've got no objections, I just thought I'd take this opportunity to understand this lease a little better. I'm looking at operations 2, Exhibit B. It says the use is for owners only under operations. The first paragraph after Exhibit B.
Page.
That is page 85. Sudden Valley Marina for property owners on or adjacent to Sudden Valley owned property. Does that exclude renting the docks to non-residents, or what does it mean?
Our marina only is for residents now. We don't have any.
So we don't have any now? and
We have no
and we can't-
non-owners
No, we
any
gave them-
longer. We,
Gave them notice 2 years ago.
Yep.
And last year there was none.
Oh, I thought we still had.
Yep,
some.
no,
That's the case. Oh, that's- so we-
absolutely not.
So we're not supposed to? Is that what that means?
We don't have to.
Okay.
if you have non-owners in there, we would be paying a lot more for the lease.
Okay. And just to understand what this lease means, we're leasing just the shore and the water area? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see the actual.
So up to the vegetation, or where does it actually stop?
You have to go to the legal description of it.
So yeah, I went through that several times and it wasn't really clear.
I found it very confusing personally,
Yeah.
but it's the
Because it talks
same.
about breakwater, which is land.
I thought at one point it said, there were two things, and they said whichever's further, I guess. And I thought it said up to the vegetation, so maybe where the grass starts.
Yeah, well, they're saying the beach.
Okay, so none of the land, I mean.
Well, that's why the
Right.
fence stops,
Right.
where the dog park fence plan,
Okay.
stopped at the rock level.
And the other question was, I mean, what if we didn't have this lease? What would that mean to us? I mean, what if they said they didn't want to lease it to us? Is that even on the table at all?
Well, somebody has to manage the access, and we own all of the adjacent property, so if they did lease it to someone else, it would be awkward at best, but I guess they could choose to do that.
I'm gonna bring this up, and I probably shouldn't, so everybody be aware. So, when we began looking at the dog area last year, we visited that area with Mike Brock. And I asked about the fact that there were no swim buoys up. And none of that area was marked, even though we were still, in theory, in a swim time. And he informed me that someone had been cutting the lines every time they put them out there. So I don't know who's doing this, but somebody had been cutting it repeatedly, Mike told us, that
Yes.
were in the group. And it's like, have we found a way that we're gonna be able to keep that intact this year?
No.
Because last year, there were boats that came in clear to the shore because there's no buoys out there because they keep cutting things.
If someone knows of an unseverable line, I guess we could buy titanium
I was
line.
just gonna say, shady.
Well, where's your $70,000?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what to tell you. We used to have many A-frame signs placed to define the borders of the dog park from the 2020 policy, and they would be constantly defaced. ripped, thrown into the ocean,
Yeah,
the
water lake.
Yeah. it
Like the
was-
picnic tables.
Yeah, the picnic tables are now attached to the ground via concrete inserts underneath the ground.
I'm just concerned for the swimmers, because there are still young children that swim in there, you know, as well, you know, and it's like when you have boats that are coming in there, because there's supposed to be several different buoys out there that show where boats aren't supposed to be and then where swimmers can be, and it's just, I'm just concerned.
Yeah, they had those buoys for years and then they haven't been keeping them.
Can we use half-inch steel cable?
We can probably use a lot of things, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Let's get back to what we're
The
talking
least,
about.
I know, I'm just concerned because it has to do with us. If that's part of the lease, is you have to put those buoys in there to define those areas to be able to fulfill your lease.
Yeah, it does say
With
that.
the DNR.
Yeah, part of it.
I had one more question. The status of the tires, so how does this affect what's happening with those tires, or?
No. The same process would have to have been followed with or without this lease renewal.
So are the tires actually in the area that we are leasing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bunches of them.
That's all I had.
All right, so the motion was move that the board of directors approve the proposed aquatic lands lease. We had a proposed by Mitch, second by Tiny. All in favor? That's unanimous.
Nice table, by the way. Nice
Yeah.
table, across the
That's
table.
That was a lot of work she did.
That was a lot of work. Yeah,
Certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
In my next life, I'll get a law degree and actually get paid.
Yeah, you're a pauper now.
But then you couldn't be here with us, Joanne.
Look at all the fun you've missed.
What a shame. Everybody.
We can get you some Section 8 housing somewhere, I'm sure.
All right, moving on to our new business for request for approval for the Unilec contract. Joanne?
So the purpose of this memo is to request approval of Unilec's proposal for election services in 2026. As directed by the Board of Directors, as was recommended by the Nominations and Elections Committee, I worked with Unilec to negotiate a contract for election services in support of the 2026 Annual General Meeting. The services covered by the contract are similar to those provided in 2025. Specifically, the contract describes a hybrid election process where members who opt in can vote electronically while all others are sent a ballot by mail. Members can also choose to vote in person on the day of the AGM. In 2026, a copy of the proposed revisions to the bylaws will be mailed to residents who receive a paper ballot. The additional printing and postage of that effort increases the cost of the election considerably. Unilect is an experienced provider of election services that has supported many national and regional elections. You can read all the details of their experience in their proposal, which was attached to this memo. Additionally, Unilect has worked with SVCA since 2020. They're familiar with our specific requirements and have demonstrated their ability to manage complicated projects. Because Sudden Valley's election process is complicated, working with a proven partner is important. The 2026 operational budget includes $24,000 in funding for the AGM. The estimated cost from Unilect for the 2026 election is $42,412.25, leaving a shortfall of $18,412.25. I request that the Board of Directors authorize the General Manager to sign the proposed contract with Unilect for 2026 election services and approve additional funding from UDR in the amount of $18,412.25.
All right, I'll read the motion and we can have questions. I move that the Board of Directors authorize the GM to sign the proposed contract with Unilec for 2026 election services and approve additional funding from UDR in the amount of $18,412.25.
Second.
Thank you. Questions?
By the way, I should point out with Linda's recommendation, that's 14,000 of it right there would bring up the UDR, those obligated amounts.
So can I ask why the operational budget includes 24,000, but it has a shortfall of 18,000? Did it jump up to 42,000?
Yes, and it's because of the additional printing and postage that's necessitated by mailing everyone a 27-page booklet of the bylaws.
Joanne, will you explain Wakaiwa a little bit, or I think the board needs to know that.
Okay, so one of the changes that we had to accommodate this year, it was about how we give notice to members officially.
You mean Wakaiwa change?
A Wakaiwa change.
Just so-
So a change to the law in Washington State requires us to give notice in a different way. For example, we previously gave meeting notice by posting in a public space at the clubhouse and by posting online. And we had to give 48 hours clear notice of a meeting. Now we have to give 14 days clear notice, and the notice cannot be posted on a public place. It must be delivered via USPS to the registered mail address of the member. That is a state law. It is a requirement. Similarly, for the election, where we are required to deliver a ballot and supporting materials to every member, that's what we have to do. Unelect recommended that we put the changes online and refer people to the changes online. And I ran it by Richard to be certain, and he said absolutely not. Now, we are in an advantageous position compared to many other HOAs in Washington State, because the Sudden Valley Views is mailed to every single member at their legal address, at their mailing address that they've given us. So if we publish something in the Views, it is automatically delivered to everybody, and it meets that very high standard for notice requirements.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right? So that's good. That's why we published the annual schedules for the board and for the committees in the Views, because it got mailed to everybody. So as long as we stick to that schedule, we're good, right? We're covered on the notice requirement. We also post in public places. We also post on our website, because those areas are more convenient for many of our members to keep up to date. But that's why we see this huge jump, because last year, 2025, I don't even think we spent the budget on the election, right, Joel?
No, less than the budget.
It was a little less than 24,000. So we can potentially mitigate these costs by embarking on a campaign to opt in more of our members to vote and receive notice electronically. One of the challenges, though, is we need to find a way in our current database of record, which is C3, our accounting software maintains our database of members and ownership. And Joel has already begun to look into marking our official database with a variable that denotes that they have officially opted in. And we need to write a process to go into the accounting processes that are reviewed at the time of the audit, to say how someone gets into that and how someone would come out of that, opt out after they had opted in. That process was begun last year by creating a set of documents and a process for people to say, yeah, sure, I'll vote electronically. Now we have to actually make it practical by putting it into our official database of record and creating all these processes around how we maintain it. But as I said, I think there's an opportunity for us to have a campaign following the completion of the rental, so we could start it in June. The rental registration is taking a lot of time right now for administration, but that ends at the end of May. We could do this campaign I'm talking about and significantly increase the number of people who receive notice electronically. That would diminish these costs. But I think we do need to have funding available, and in anticipation that we might not hit a 98% collection rate, and being very mindful of the funds that we have available in operations, that's why I'm asking for this money. We
have no option. That's something that Joanne and I have discussed. Because for me, I'm saying for state law, we should be able to change our bylaws because it has to meet state law. But what Kyle and Richard say, no, our bylaws have to be approved by the membership. So, and that's part of the reason why one of the things now, and it's the only thing I can think of, when we talk about assessments and how budgets are approved, we all know that it's the new Wakiowa standard. That's only in a tiny footnote in the bylaws, and everybody at the last AGM was just outraged because they look at that and they don't see that little footnote, and it needs to be changed. That's been a change for a long time, but we've never put anything in our bylaws to change that whole section of assessments and dues, although that's gonna happen now. Unfortunately, we have to get 60% of the membership to vote to approve this, or they stay the same, and we stay with the same confusion that we have now, and it will continue to be a problem.
It'll be in conflict with state
Yes,
law.
and there's nothing you can do, you know. Even in 2028, when Wakiowa comes law, until we get our bylaws, everything that's in that, because this isn't everything, until they vote to approve it, we will always have a conflict. Unless state law finally says you can modify your bylaws if it's state law and it doesn't take a vote of the membership. But until that changes, it takes a vote of our membership. So I just wanted to throw that all in there. I'm sorry it took so long.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how that could actually happen. Why would they change the law, but we have to vote to be compliant with the law? Is that?
No, that's actually the problem. We have no choice but to be compliant with the law.
Our bylaws state our terms, and the states, and this is what we gotta do.
Right.
We have to make it official through our voting process.
Right, and it's in the restrictive covenants, which are attached to the deed, that define how we amend our bylaws. We already discussed the very difficult task it would be to revise our restrictive covenants. So, and this is not an unusual situation. All the HOAs are facing this, which is why I recommended we start it this year, even though it's not required till 2028. Because if for some reason it doesn't pass, we still have
Next
another
year,
year.
you're gonna do it all over again with even more that has to be in effect, and will go into effect in 2028.
So is it a line item vote, or is it just vote to approve all the Wakiowa changes?
Yes, there'll be one, there'll just be one, I believe, just one measure on the ballot that will talk about the edits, the amendments that need to be made to our bylaws to conform with state law. And it'll either be yes or no, and we need 60, is it 66 or 60%? 66% for the bylaws, I think.
Right, so that's actually a strategic decision that needs to be made by the board later.
Yep.
When we get into talking about the ballot and how we want to organize it.
All in favor of the group?
This is complicated, but the relevant question is, do we approve the Unilec contract?
Yes.
The question was legitimately, why is it so much higher? And that's the answer.
Yeah, I don't like it, but thank you.
On that point of it being higher, and this is probably just a point of interest for me, when I got the letter from Sun Valley last week talking about the survey, I was kind of surprised to see the postage stamp at 78 cents. Don't we get a break on postage being a nonprofit?
Not unless we make it like with the views. We used to mail it to each individual person, now it's a mass mailing, so everybody gets it, and that gives us a cheaper rate, but that's the only way.
Or a postcard, maybe.
Yeah.
A postcard.
I know they're getting ready to jack first-class postage up big time real soon.
And also a sales tax increase, just gonna hit us in July.
Yeah, so if we contracted the preparation of mailing out to a mailing company, they would be able to use various postal discount programs that are available, but they also charge you to a fixed postage and charge you to print and charge you to stuff and charge you to do everything else. So even though the postage was higher, it saved us money to prepare that mailing internally.
Okay.
Should buy forever stamps.
A couple of years ago, I bought 300 of
I got some I bought years ago, and I still use
They're
it.
gonna come and break in your house.
I told my wife then, this isn't gonna be an investment. I had no idea. All right, so the motion was moved that the board of directors authorize the GM to sign, I'm sorry, was there any more questions? Okay, I'll reread the motion. I move that the board of directors authorize the GM to sign the proposed contract with Unelect for 2026 election services and approve additional funding from UDR in the amount of $18,412.25. There was a motion made by me, seconded by Tanya. All in favor? That's been approved unanimous.
Regret it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our next item is request for approval, the 2026 budget calendar.
So everyone had a copy of this in their packet, but to the point raised earlier, I also brought the Braille version.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm here tonight to talk about the proposed budget calendar and to get your approval for the dates that are on it. Some background, preparing the annual budget is a major project that involves many different people. It is critical to keep to a strict timeline to ensure that all stakeholders have the opportunity to give input to the process while still achieving the necessary deadlines for inclusion in our election materials. Each year, a unified calendar is prepared showing the key dates that the board, the finance committee, the entity committee, and staff must all meet. The proposed calendar for 2026 was provided to all of you. It's been reviewed by the finance director, Joel, and the entity committee. It follows the pattern of past years while accounting for the differences in the date of the AGM and how our holidays fall. So for those reasons, I request that the board of directors approve the proposed 2026 budget calendar.
The motion is moved that the board of directors approve the proposed 2026 budget calendar.
Second.
All right, any questions or comments?
Discussion?
Yes, sir.
Tiny, I see that they have, oh, you call me sir, I'll take it.
Yeah. I changed my mind real quick.
I see that we've got capital budget input on finance committee June 17th. All right, so how about long-range planning input to finance committee on priorities before that? It's not there.
Did we ever have it on there?
Well, in the bylaws, the
Yeah.
long-range planning committee is to provide guidance on our priorities to our capital projects. And so finance is going to give input on the budget. I think they should receive input on what our priorities are for construction.
Okay, well, we are working on a 3, 5, and 10-year plan.
This is a good thing, but it hasn't been there in the past, but the intent was, as the committee was assembled and the bylaw was put in, Linda, correct me here, that they would be given finance committee input on priorities.
There's something in there.
Yeah.
I have to look that's under their, that's in their charter. I can't remember if it's finance they give it to, or I think it might be finance.
They have to come up with, here's the priorities of what we're supposed to be doing. And finance is supposed to put the integrated budget together with operations and future capital. And the future capital priorities come out of.
And part of that comes out of the reserve study. You know, you may not pick everything out of the reserve study as the long-range planning committee, but
Well,
you certainly have that whole 30-year, that goes year to year to year. Yes, it changes, but.
Here's the turn. The reserve study does not include items that do not exist.
That's true.
Items that do not exist but are wanted come out of the vision of the long-range plan.
A perfect example is Barn 6 right now. It's not on the reserve study anymore.
Yes, it is on the reserve study.
Yeah.
It
But
exists.
It's gone now.
No, it's on there.
it's there.
It's there. It's in.
But not the project, but the project.
For 3035, by then the wind would have blown it over.
Yeah. But that's the purpose. Yeah, if it
Yeah,
doesn't exist.
it's that sort of thing. If this is something we're gonna plan, you know, like you say, but it's 3, 5, and 10, I think Barn 6 is gonna be before that, but the board also tasked LRPG to look at that, correct?
So,
To
So we're looking at priorities
Yeah,
for the
and then
the
we're
coming
already
year
in the
is what we're talking
process.
about, that would affect the budget.
So my point was that possibly putting in a line in here to say, hey, long-range planning, we need input to finance, so finance knows they're gonna put this consolidated plan together, but it should include what doesn't exist now, but is desired by long-range planning or suggested by long-range planning.
Is there
And
any
then
reason
the board
on,
makes the decision.
is there not any reason on 617 where it says finance committee meeting, the capital budget input, it couldn't be a joint meeting between finance and LRPG?
But they still have to have something ready for it.
Yes,
But I think it's a great idea.
you know, but I'm saying that would be a really good way to have a discussion between both groups.
Joint meetings are productive.
We could do that.
Did you want to add anything?
No, I noticed that omission myself, and it actually led to complications in the current capital budget for SERF because we included a loan which we can't actually take out because it's to build a building we're not ready to build yet. Right? But at the time that the budget was prepared, that's the information that was given to finance. And so that's how the budget ended up, right? So to have more involvement from long-range planning in this capital budget cycle would be a good thing.
Because it would give you about, it would give LRPG about a month to start formulating that, you know, because it's like, we're now where we're at.
Well, we just had our meeting last week, our next one is not until June 4th.
Give you just enough time.
Well,
Just enough time.
one of the things that can be done with committees, since we are constrained, we can't suddenly add new
Yeah.
meetings, right?
Yeah.
But we can add meetings, we just have to get them in the views, right, that's all. And the other thing that makes a lot of sense to me is that most of what we work with are documents. And we can hand documents back and forth, we can annotate documents, we can share those annotations, and effectively produce work product outside of a meeting.
Staff work.
Right, and come together in the meeting to perhaps have a final discussion or refine that work and then approve it as a product of the committee. So not everything has to happen in real time. You can be asynchronous and use documents to virtually move the work forward.
All right.
Sounds like homework.
It does sound like homework. I'm kind of like deer in the headlights right now, but
Sorry.
that's okay, I've been there before.
Well, I have some ideas, perhaps we could meet
Okay,
and
yeah, then we
discuss that.
can send, try to get the materials to the committee and get some input and then deal with them on the June 4th meeting.
I think the membership had some really good points when they were saying, look, you know, we haven't been running things through process, you know. So, all right, look, process, long-range planning, finance, everything, and then to the board. And here's an opportunity to use process correctly.
Okay, so if I understand, we should add LRPC to the meeting on 6/17.
That's
I
what,
would try that for now, because at least it's on the books.
And we will have our meeting June 4th, and as I said, I mean, it's already getting into May, but we'll send some stuff out.
Right. So what we can do then is, in the upcoming issue of the views, which will be for June, we can make, since the 17th is more than 14 days after it'll come out, we're covered.
Okay.
If we get the views out by the first, right? Or
Well, we
the
have to
third,
make
no,
sure
later.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
We were closer to the May 1st deadline
Yeah.
in May, so we're getting there.
It's getting better, it's like collection rates.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's us that holds it back because we've got a couple of things we need to.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying on that one, and for sure it'd have to be out to get your 2-week notice.
But just as to contribute to this discussion, I told you all earlier that we had close to 600 responses to the survey, and I've been reading them and looking at them. And overall, the results are extremely positive. People love living in Sudden Valley, overwhelmingly. And they overwhelmingly are saying that they're satisfied with the work we're doing to maintain amenities. obviously some people are not satisfied, but the majority of people are satisfied, and those proportions are very helpful. And in reading through the open-ended comments, many people took the time to type a significant amount of information in there that they wanted to communicate. And more than a few people have said, why do we waste money on security, right? Why are we wasting money on publishing a newspaper nobody reads? Of course, when we ask people how they learn about Sudden Valley, 89% of them said they read the View, so whatever. But it's very clear when you read the comments that most members do not understand the legal obligations that face the association. And so they don't have the correct context for the decisions that are made. And it is an impossible thing to educate everyone, right? All you have to do is look at the falling test scores of our young people. But the truth of it is that some people would understand more if they had more opportunities to hear the information. So I do think it's worthwhile to hold in-person meetings. Many people don't absorb information if it's only available in a written format. They just don't. So hearing something spoken about, hearing it discussed, those are ways that many people find it easier to learn. And to create different venues to share information could be helpful.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is amazing to me. I hear a lot of times people make public comments here about stuff we discussed 2 meetings ago. They have no concept of it at all.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, it's like, this is ridiculous, and it's like, I don't know how to get more information out to more people. We have the Views, we have e-blast, I don't know, but billboards outside with flashing lights out.
You didn't go to their house and explain it to them while they were sitting on their couch.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It is amazing.
Even flashing signs don't work. I go through the border all the time, coming back to the States. It says all along flashing, and it changes, so it's not just like the one, it says, please do not block yellow sensors. And it's, going like this, and then it'll change, and then it'll go back to please do not block yellow sensors. And there's a car sitting there blocking the yellow sensor almost every time, and it's like, I'll say to the guard, I wish there was a way you could tell people not to block these sensors. He goes, I know. So people don't listen.
All right, so Linda,
I'd like to make a suggestion, because Daniel asked about this, and it would probably be real good if we thought about this, about when we plan to have a survey, a town hall about the survey. I would suggest 8/1. It's in between when the board gets, all of July, a lot of July is going to be taken up by us receiving the operational and capital budgets, the audit work, then we have the Valley Fair. Then August takes us into when we start putting the books together and stuff, at least the voting booklet. Hopefully by then, we will also have the bylaws ready to go, and that'll be all done. Maybe it can even go to the printer early just to get printed, to get put in there. I don't know how they're gonna do that. I'm still curious to know that. But I think 8/1 would be good. It would separate it, and it would give people a chance to have the survey, but then the middle of August is when we have the town hall on the budget. So I think it'd be a nice kind of a gap, but that's just my suggestion.
Yeah. I personally,
let Joanne respond real quick, and then.
I think that's a little late, and I think it's too close to the town hall. I think we should find a date in July in which the results can be presented, and that's not something that the board needs to do. I mean,
That's true.
That's a staff activity. Obviously, the board should try to attend, right? I can answer questions about the survey, but the results themselves are not subject to discussion.
Yeah, I hear you. They are what they are.
They are what they are.
They are what they are. Yes, absolutely correct.
So what would the town hall be for? To discuss the survey, or should you just?
To discuss the results of it. Again, since not everyone is going to sit down and read it, I can show the graphs and charts and talk about the results. It's just another way to absorb the material.
Gotcha. Mitch?
I'm actually favoring Linda's suggestion, but I understand your point of view on timing. But let's say that we had, the document review had the final version, and we wanted to explain it to people that they're gonna have to vote for it, and it's the law. But if you combine that with the survey presentation, well, you have a lot of people there. It's kind of it would bring more people in, so they have to listen to the, well, yeah, there's this, but then the survey. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You want to, if you
Oh, I
combine,
kind of understand what you're saying.
if you combine those two, we're going to get more people to participate on hearing the one thing that they wouldn't go to a town hall for, but they're going to go to hear Joanne.
They're not gonna go for the presentation of the budget, but they'll go to hear the survey.
That's correct. So if you have one occur before the other, you'll get more people in there.
So you're saying though, that you're explaining the reasons why we have to vote for the changes, is that?
Yeah.
You have to explain it to them. It's like, you can vote no, and then you're gonna ask, people are gonna say, why are you not following the bylaws? I mean, this is the problem we're gonna have, right? We all remember going to the last AGM where everyone was expecting that the budget passed because they saw the numbers and they went, what do you mean it didn't?
Failed, yeah.
It failed. What does that mean? It's like, okay, we don't need two sets of rules. So how do we get people involved? Well, they're gonna wanna hear Joanne talk about that survey. What other subject can we also present on that same day when everyone's gonna wanna go hear Joanne talk about the survey? But before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, we just wanna tell you this thing about, Wakiowa, or the budget, or whatever.
It isn't the budget though,
No,
it's the
it's the
bylaws, and
bylaws.
it's so separate from the budget.
I was
Yeah.
playing with your
Yeah, I
idea
know.
of
I
having it
hear
in the
what you're
budget,
saying.
but if we do the bylaws, we'll probably communicate to more people, because they're gonna wanna listen to Joanne. But we have this dry topic we wanna tell you about first. That's what I'm suggesting.
Joanne?
So I wholeheartedly agree that we need to present a town hall for the purpose of explaining and answering questions about and getting feedback from the community on the proposed changes to the bylaws. However, we have requirements to post the changes for a period of comment, and then have a town meeting to receive input back. And there needs to be these are requirements. They're not, just advised or best practices. So we actually have to sit down, and I was going to bring this to the document review meeting on Wednesday and put together a communications schedule. When are the changes going to be posted? What explanation goes along with them? What is our comment period? Where's the article for the views?
Yeah.
When does that need to go out? When is the meeting going to be held? So this is exactly, it's everything all at once.
Yeah,
Right?
it is, it's everything.
It's the budget and the bylaws and the election.
Sounds like the title of a movie.
Yeah, so there's a lot to sort out.
And then, we gotta think about that, it's on Saturdays too, so we have staff time, expense and whatnot included in there, so.
So these are the basic things on the schedule. And we do need to have one or possibly two additional meetings for the community to participate in around the survey and the bylaws changes, the bylaw changes. And then I'm sure that all of that will come up again at the town hall meeting and the AGM. And people will stand up at the AGM and say, no one ever told me.
Exactly.
Well, don't forget, you got trunk or treat in here too. You got important stuff. This is a nice calendar, by the way, Joanne.
All right, so getting back to this then, so I'm hearing two things. One, we need to add the LRPC on the 6/17/2026 Finance Committee meeting. It'll be a joint meeting, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I'm hearing that we also need to have an additional town hall, or suggested we have an additional town hall.
To be determined?
Well, yeah, I guess to be
For the
determined,
survey, but then you
we
also
to
need something for the bylaws.
Yeah, survey and bylaws. Well, I'm getting, it's 2 for 1. It's a sales thing. You get them in there for one thing, and you're double down and you're getting the information out for both things. one may be boring, but the other one's more information and they're gonna wanna hear it.
And they're important.
So the question is also too, time, right? Because people lose interest. How long are they gonna wanna spend at a town hall? It can't be a 4-hour thing. No one's
Yeah.
gonna stay for 4 hours. They're just gonna come to the 10 to 12 or 8 to 10, whatever their preference of listening is. So I guess it would have to be determined because some more thought needs to go into this. Next question would be who would put that thought together and to be determined date? Who would come up with that?
Well, I think the document review has to come up with a schedule because they're.
And that'll be Wednesday, you guys are holding that meeting.
We'll see how far we get, because I got to page 7 of 27. I'm now all done with it, I have marked up all of the stuff, and I have one last question that I need to read a document, and then I'll know the answer to my question.
Okay.
But I don't know where all the other group is. Joanne's gonna join us, and we're gonna do it online. We can do it as long as we want. She'll do the shared document, and we'll just go through the attorney's recommendations.
Yeah, which we should be following.
Yeah.
Your survey, how long do you think that would take?
The survey is going to close at the end of May. So during the month of June, there will be data cleaning and analysis and the preparation by Catapult Insights of the charts and graphs that are in the report. From their report, I'll prepare in June my presentation, so anytime in July.
It sounds like, yeah, July.
Yeah. I really, and we have to give time for public comment, so I think that the ideal timing is going to be in July, and we can settle on the exact date, perhaps on Wednesday, at the document review meeting.
That's why I said 8, that's why I went as far as 8-1 with stuff, to make sure that there's posting and all that stuff that's gotta be done. So that might take up July.
We know that we're going to add another community meeting in the month of July, and we'll settle on the date based on the document review meeting to be held on Wednesday, but it sounds like the rest of this is okay with people.
That would be Wakiowa and survey. Very good.
I'd like to call the question on the.
Yes, sir.
You have a motion on the floor, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I did, and it's already been seconded, yeah. Well, we can amend the motion. I can just, or we can take a vote on it and not vote on it. I'll vote against it and re-motion
We
it.
really don't have to vote on it, I don't think. It's just we need to have the discussion and
It's a living
see.
document right now.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. And
It's just
nobody
working,
has,
it's just discussion.
nobody has any objections, let me put it that way. Are there
No.
any objections to the changes that
No.
were brought forward
No.
tonight?
No.
All right.
Just we need to be
So then-
dealing with
Living
it.
document.
Yeah, we're good.
We got a lot to think about.
And I would ask that people are aware of the dates for the board to review and approve the ballot and the measures and all of the good stuff. And all of the board dates are shown in blue. Those are important meetings, so if you can arrange your other
Your vacations
happenings.
around there.
Yeah,
After a while.
because we definitely need to make quorum on those days to do those important things.
No, I can tell you right now, I won't be there for the meeting on the 9th in July.
Good question. That's interesting.
Well, I'm sorry, it's been booked for months.
Yeah, I may not either, so. That's interesting, I don't know when I'm going. but-
Ray has a question.
Ray, you're going too? Oh, you have a question?
You know, the survey, I filled it out today. The response is good so far. We're hoping for 1,000 yet. So in anticipation of the results, I'm hoping that the community is excited about it, as we all are. It will be printed in the View, I'm thinking, whatever is going to be in the town meeting or whatever. But we're receiving that through the report that we get from these people that we paid lots of money. And these results that we get, like, I mean, you know, people that are interested in the senior citizen center, we'll see that come up. And then we'll take the board, we'll focus on these items that we're hearing from the community? Or does it go to long-range planning committee? What is it, how do we take those results and move them into?
How do you use it?
How do you use it? Yeah. We're putting a lot of time and energy, it's exciting, and we're getting some response. But we need to know, how can we follow up? We haven't read it yet, but we need to be prepared how we're gonna actually move on. If we get some good stuff, like,
The way that the results will be presented, the way that we ask the questions.
yeah,
Right?
there's 20 questions.
It was designed to give us actionable information. So we will understand if there's a conflict between, do we put budget towards project A or project B? We understand, oh look, 80% of the community is saying we want better equipment in the fitness center, and only 30% of the community is saying that they, are interested in playing tennis. So if we have to make a decision between fixing the tennis courts or buying new equipment for the fitness center, it's a no-brainer. More people want equipment in the fitness center than want to play tennis. And there's also lots of input in the comments that you can read through, and there's also demographic information that'll come out of this. For example, right now, the results show that about 45% of the households have a dog. About 55% of households don't have a dog. Only 25% of households have children under the age of 18. That's really interesting to me because that's hugely skewed. That's very different than the general population.
Are we expecting sort of a narrative that they give us too, or is it just hard?
There will be some of that.
Okay.
But it's more like graphics and bullet points and observations, and the observations will be couched in researchy terms. A plurality of people responded to say, and a lot of people don't get that, and I don't blame them. But not only will we have the summary of information in a graphic format, but we will also have very detailed tabulations so that I'll be able to say in Division 16, there's a higher proportion of children than in Division 28. Literally, we'll be able to go down to that level and understand the composition of it. We'll know the mean home value for the association. We'll know if the home value is a determining factor for your decision making.
Let's go to our next topic, if I could.
Are you tired?
Yes, I am.
We still have closed session.
We still have closed session. We have
Yeah,
one
we
more
still got
vote
one more to
do.
go, then close session, so. Okay, so we're good with the schedule as it is.
And we'll look at filling it out
Working
more,
on it, yeah.
getting it filled
Got
out as we go.
All right, our next thing is item number C, fines and fee schedules, revisions to such. Joanne?
So the memo here is to request approval of a proposed revision to the Sudden Valley fees and fines schedule. The pet regulations section of the fees and fines schedule is not clear regarding exactly what infractions of the rules may result in a fine. I printed the section as it appears currently and suggested revisions. So the current fees and fines schedule has a statement, including but not limited to uncontrollable at-large barking and nuisance dogs. And I've suggested that we refer people to the rules and regulations for a full list of rules applying to pets, but that we actually create a statement with a fine attached to it that if your dog is off-leash, outside of an approved off-leash area, not leash, sorry, if the owner is right there, it's still a fine, but it's a smaller fine than if a dog is just roaming free in the neighborhood. And then, of course, the problem we have with a roaming dog is how do we know what house it belongs to find the owner of the dog? But that's a different problem. So that's the proposal to kind of clean it up. And I would request that you approve as shown or revise it to meet your needs.
Yeah, so part of the purpose on this was actually states off-leash, because at large is what used to be off-leash, right? So this actually states off-leash, so there's no misunderstanding about it. Going back to people not reading signs, so, you know, we visited a dog park a lot over this last year, and talked to a lot of people using it, and one of the people said to me, you should have signs up saying your dogs need to be on leash when you leave the parking lot. Turn around and look, there's like 6 of them, but nobody sees a sign, so it's just a strange thing. So now we clearly have a defined off-leash penalty. It was still always there, it's not like we're creating one, it was always there, but in the at-large category, and Joanne actually reduced it. The original fine was $50 for your first violation. Now the off-leash for your first violation is $25, those are incremental. Second violation, $50, third violation, $75. Fourth violation, oh no, you can't use the dog park. I don't know what will happen at this point, but as we all know, and people state it all the time, and I appreciate Barbara Mickelson actually put harder. She actually posted something on Facebook, which was great, to please start leashing your dogs up when you leave the parking lot, because everybody knows, even here, we all know that they don't do that. So I really appreciated that effort. Too bad it wasn't done a few years ago. And the other thing I want to say about the dog park, everyone says, oh, it's been that way for years. No, the dog park increased that size, which is actually the wrong size. It's not what it was to approved in 2021. It was increased for COVID. So it wasn't increased for any other reasons other than social distancing, and it clearly states that in that proposal. So I just wanted to point that out. But at least we have an off-leash thing now on this here, and I'll read the motion, and if we have any questions or comments, we can go forward. I move that the Board of Directors approve the fees and fines revisions as shown.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, questions or comments? Go Daniel.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of dogs running all over the place, and I do think, and that's why I am for a fence. A lot of dog people do want a fence. It's a delineation. This is where you can have your dog loose. Right now, it's kind of, it's always, you know, it's been like this for a long, since I've been here, it's like the whole place is the dog park. I want a fence because then, you know, this is not where, you can't have your dog running around outside of this area. So most of the people I've talked to are good with that and want it, just because the problems that we have had with dogs running all over the place. The other question I had was the impounding. What would that look like? You know,
That's what I thought, right? Back of the tow truck, hook the dog up, take it away.
We have a dog jail down in Barn 6.
Most people don't know it's there.
There's the dog jail.
Is there really?
Who's doing this? I mean,
We do not,
what's the
we
process?
haven't impounded dogs for years.
Yeah, I know.
Because, I mean, you see dogs running loose on Facebook all the time.
How do you catch them?
We used to pick them up and bring them to the office.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's true.
It's true.
And we would bring them home at night and we put, yeah. The other thing is, we used to have a chip reader in the office.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but we had a chip reader in the office, and dogs would come in and we'd read the chip and call the owner. So, you know, buy a chip reader. If it can't be found anymore, get a chip reader. Most of the dogs are chipped.
Well, that's.
And there used to be pictures on the website, in the announcements too,
Yeah.
of here, this dog is in the office. This is your dog.
This is your puppy in the office today. We're making you file paperwork.
Yeah, we've had some repeat offenders in our neighborhood, but.
Yeah, but we pick them up and they'd be in the office. And if they didn't pick them up by the end of the night, we didn't impound them, took them home.
But I think it does need to be clear that, you know, there are rules. And it wasn't really, you know, I don't think people really understood that. You have signs, but, you know, where? You know, it wasn't really clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the fence is a good idea. Of course, we dispute where it should be, but I think that in addition to these fines being clear.
Now we gotta start enforcing them, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah,
It's
gotta get the fence up first.
Yeah.
All right, so the motion's been read and seconded by...
I still.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the revised is shown, first violation, second, third,
Yes.
subsequent. I don't have my rules and regs with me, section 6, what are those? Are they?
Those are section 6 is actually pet regulations.
It's the whole list.
It's the whole thing.
I see. So this is different, are you gonna?
I'm calling out two specific elements of section 6.
Got it.
Section
Thank you very much.
6.2.1 talks about being off leash, just, you know, when your
Your
dog's
dog.
walking at heel.
Got it, thank you, I'm clear.
One quick distinction, the parking dogs, is that? how do
That
you get
falls
that?
into the first, second, third violation or subsequent violation. And we have to have documentation by security, and it's been almost impossible to get it, because of course neighbors are saying the dog was barking all night, and then the dog owner's like, I was here, the dog wasn't barking all night, and that sets neighbor against neighbor. It is very hard to resolve dog issues.
Okay, so that is something that Alan would, or security would hear about it and then report that to Alan. That's how that works.
Because ultimately, the Humane Society is who is supposed to deal with this.
Yeah, that's what I was not really clear about.
We receive calls to security to complain about dogs, and we receive complaints complaining about dogs at administration. They all funnel into compliance. We attempt to follow up on them and create evidence that would allow us to issue a notice of violation and eventually fine someone if the behavior wasn't corrected. But in all of our violations, we do give the opportunity to cure. People are told what you're doing is against the rules. Please stop it by this date and time, and you either comply or you don't. And so for barking dogs, that's really hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's important, as you just said, the issue here is not to go ahead and build our budget based on fines. It's to build a community.
Yes, awareness, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, all in favor of, oh, Tom, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just kind of quickly, 6.2.1, we're starting fines at $25, where all other violations start at 50. I'm thinking 25 is a little bit lenient, because I think that's one's going to be flagrantly violated multiple times. And then also, rules and regulations stipulate a maximum leash length of 8 feet. Were we going to discuss changing that to 6 feet?
I think 8 feet is state law.
It's 15 in our bylaws.
It's 15 in our bylaws, but if you look at the actual
Our bylaws are 15 feet attached to a chain in your yard.
That's true.
Leash length is 8 feet.
That's correct.
Yeah, because the state law is 8 feet.
Yeah.
I think Jean's comment was 8 feet might be a little hard for you to control an animal. Is that what she was saying?
15 feet, well, she thinks 6 feet is better. You know, she just got bit, actually.
Heard?
Yeah, and owner refused to give his name and walked away and didn't share any information.
See, that's
So
what
it's
happens
quite
with a
unfortunate.
lot of these.
In our dog park?
No, on our street.
On the street. But I mean, that stuff happens, so people say, oh, it never happened. Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, it does.
You know, and you're talking to a person who was a veterinarian, right? So she's very well aware of animals and things, and so she didn't pursue anything further, but I was flabbergasted by it. I couldn't believe it.
Keep watching, Val, I'm following you.
But the leash thing, Tom is correct. It's 15 feet if your dog is in your yard and staked to your yard, where we see people walking the streets on my street with no leashes. They do it quite often. But it's important, and I think that's something we need to change. It's not on here right now. This is just the fines for that, but our bylaws need to change. So when we're doing our bylaws this year, that'll be one of the ones that need to be brought forward.
Is it a bylaw or is it a rule and regulation?
Rule regulation.
Yeah.
Still has to be, it'll have to be published to everybody and posted and public comment and all that stuff changes with the Kyle. It has to all be posted before we even vote on it.
Calling the question. I'd like to call the question for the vote.
Well, I just do agree with Tom that on that first one, where off-leash with owner nearby, $25 is a little low, and it is the lowest one. Whereas off-leash roaming without them is 50, 75, 100. I'd like to see them both the same.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I would.
Tom, I apologize. I forgot we had a comment on the floor when I asked to call the question.
You're forgiven.
This time.
Did we hear that suggestion? That we would raise the off-leash outside an approved off-leash area where the owner is nearby to $50 to do increments 50, 75, and 100. Does that seem?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Doesn't that seem a little stiff?
I think the thing that we need to remember and why it's lower in that first instance is the owner is nearby. In the second instance, it's just a dog roaming.
Well, I guess what would be nearby? I'll give you an example. So Mike Brock and I were out there like a month ago at the restrooms, right by the dog park. We were actually going out there. A dog came up and was angry with us, a German Shepherd. Ran over and, you know, we didn't pay attention to it because we didn't want to get involved with it. The owner was on the spit, right? Or not the spit, he was out on with that finger down at the very end of the dog park, all the way at the end of the sand is. He was over there, he had no idea where his dog was. He looked like he was clamming or something, which I know is impossible, but he was like bent down doing something. The dogs were harassing Mike and I. He had no idea it was there, and he didn't pay any attention until a lady had come up with her dog actually on a leash, which surprised me. And she was walking by. That other dog got in a fight with that dog. And she had to let go of the leash because they were going at it. Nothing like serious, but I mean, they weren't playing, I'll tell you that. And the owner had to come running all the way from there. So to me, that's
not nearby.
That guy had no idea where his dog was, what it was doing, and it was like.
That's not nearby.
Okay, so who determines that?
I walk my dog sometimes, and my dog can walk at heel, all right? You'll see my dog, all right? She can be impressive looking, but she's a cupcake. But I can get her to walk at heel. Well, she's a cupcake, right?
She is.
It's a Doberman, but, all right, but that would be, I could see, look, you know, get a warning, you could put the leash on, all right, put the leash on the dog. Now, I've seen a second time with her walking at heel, that's a $25 fine.
Yeah, so you prefer. So I would like the idea that we don't give violations out right away, it's warning, right? So this is, and then the security guard, hopefully will start knowing these people, knowing the face, and go, look, I've already warned you once, I've warned you twice. You're getting a fine this time. It's like where I'd like to see.
I walked the trails today around the lake and had both dogs, and they're on leashes. And I bounced into a person, another member, who I've met many times, and her dog is never on a leash. And it's like, how you doing, how you doing? Okay, I'm just gonna keep walking my way, we're going this way, but never on a leash, all right? But the dog walks somewhat at heel, that'd be a warning and then a $25.
So out of curiosity, how wide is the area you were walking by?
Oh, it's not wide at all.
So,
I'd say 5 feet.
So to my point, and the entrance to the dog park's 15 feet. And I hear people walk opposite directions all the time around Lake Louise it is.
Yeah.
They go both ways, there's never a problem with two dogs walking by each
I
other.
always say, I have two friendly dogs, and someone else will say, oh, today, this happened, a woman said, he reacts to big dogs. So I choked up with my dog's leashes, and we said, hi, how are you doing? And we kept walking, just kept going. Just choked up on a leash and just kept walking. And then I leased them, let them go back out to 6-foot walks. All right? That's very common. I've never encountered a problem.
Okay.
My point on 6.2.1, the $25, I see that the violations there being in the parking lot, people releasing their dogs from the cars without leashes.
Yeah.
That's where that was gonna get violated the most. And that's why I object to the low fine.
Okay.
Well, especially if you're gonna get warnings first.
Yeah,
That's
and
what I'm
warnings
thinking. It's not like you just go, oh, here's a dog that's not on the leash, boom, you're gonna get a $50 fine.
They're right nearby their dogs. They're letting them out and they're walking into the park. It's like, no. You don't know if there's a kid on the other side of that area playing, all right? No. That's a $25. But the thing about the shepherd, the guy running all the way across, that's impound. No.
I wasn't gonna touch that.
A vicious dog.
I was trying to ignore it like completely, like, hey, I'm not getting scared. But I was scared.
All right, so do we leave it at 25, 50, 75, or do we
change?
Who wants to?
All right, let's, we'll make a motion for your change. All right, yeah.
Well, I want to, before we make a motion, why don't we just see how many people just would prefer leave it as it is, just.
How many are in favor of leaving it as it is, 25, 50, 75?
I would leave it as it is.
All right, just show of hands.
I'd leave it as it is.
I'll leave as is.
People are looking
All
at
right,
it.
so that's 4, all right. So
leave it as is.
Yeah, 3, yeah, we
That's
don't have
fine.
enough people, okay. So the motion was on the table, move that the Board of Directors approve the fees and fines revisions as shown. It was motion by me, seconded by Linda. All in favor? So it'll stay at the 25, 50, 75. Perfect.
I'm good with that.
That's unanimous. All right, very good, thank you. Good discussion.
My cats don't care that I'm not home now. I've got them on automatic feeders getting ready for when I'm gone on vacation.
You have your catio, or what?
Oh, you're going to Linda's house this week. Oh, you don't have an approved catio.
All right, we got to make the motion, actually, we're moving to executive session at 9:40.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. All in favor? All right, 9:40, Spencer,